Good morning. My name is Father Raipa. I'm a Catholic priest. I'm from India. I belong to the Diocese of Vellore. Today I'm going to talk about Laudato Si. Also I'm going to compare Pope's writing to the Edicts of Ashoka, which were written 2,270 years ago. Amazing. There are parallels. Ashoka was prior to Francis, even to Jesus. Ashoka was prior to Jesus by 270 years. Ashoka lived in 3rd and 4th century BC. Jesus comes later. So there are a lot of things, Jesus' teachings can be compared to Ashoka's teachings too. But anyway, here, that is not the point I'm going to make, but just Ashoka has written so many beautiful things which help us to care for the natural world, to animals and plants and water, trees, insects. And Ashoka teaches non-violence to the natural world. You have to practice dharma or dhamma in Pali. So if you have dharma in your consciousness, you will not do anything bad to the natural world. You will not hurt any part of creation. So that is what Ashoka is writing. Before that, I want to read from Pope Francis's encyclical on ecology and environment from chapter 6, where Pope Francis discusses about the present condition, the present status quo, that means the situation of our planet. And he sees destruction, he sees misery, and he simply says we need to have ecological conversion. Every person on the planet, 7 billion of us, we need to experience ecological conversion. That is what he writes. In the paragraph number 217 and 219, both the paragraphs, I'm going to read it just now in a moment for you. And the 217 paragraph, it says that there are two conversions. One is individual conversion and another one is society conversion. So Pope thinks individual conversion is not going to stop the whole global warming climate change, because 7 billion of us made mistake. So one individual doing, he may not do it in a faster phase. It will take a long time, one by one. But the social conversion, the whole 7 billion of us changing in the sense of urgency, I think that will solve the problem. But Ashoka differs from Pope Francis. He says individual can stop. Every individual, instead of coming from the top down, you go bottom up. That's what Ashoka says. Bottom up process. What is a bottom up process? From individual all the way to the government and to the Pope. What is a top down? From the government, from the Pope, you come down to an individual. So Pope is thinking of top down society, which includes individual. Ashoka, bottom up. He also, same point. Individual includes the society. The individual change is the society change later on, isn't it? So that is what Ashoka is writing. And Pope and Ashoka both agree on one point. What is it? Persuasion. The power of persuasion. The persuasion is nothing but it's your own consciousness. The paper, the newspapers and television and media, they say we need to act. Pope also is writing we need to act. United Nations is also telling we need to save our planet for the past 30 years. Nothing worked. But Pope Ashoka is telling, now we are going to use another important resource, the important avenue. So far we have not yet used. What is it? Consciousness. Yes. Pope calls it conversion, ecological conversion, that is the change of consciousness. Ashoka calls it dharma or dhamma. In other words, it's a consciousness. So that is what Pope is writing. I'm going to read it from Laudato Si. Paragraph number verse 217. The external deserts in the world are growing because the internal deserts have become so vast. For this reason, the ecological crisis is also a summons to a profound interior conversion. It must be said that some committed and prayerful Christians, with the excuse of realism and pragmatism, tend to ridicule expressions of concern for the environment. Others are passive. They choose not to change their habits and thus become inconsistent. So, what they all need is an ecological conversion, whereby the effects of their encounter with Jesus Christ become evident in their relationship with the world around them. Living our vocation to be protectors of God's handiwork is essential to a life of virtue. It is not an optional or a secondary aspect of our Christian experience. So I'm going to continue. Paragraph number 219. Nevertheless, self-improvement on the part of individuals will not by itself remedy the extremely complex situation facing our world today. Isolated individuals can lose their ability and freedom to escape the utilitarian mindset and end up prey to an unethical consumerism bereft of social or ecological awareness. Social problems must be addressed by community networks and not simply by the sum of individual good deeds. This task will make such tremendous demands of man that he could never achieve it by individual initiative or even by the united effort of men bred in an individualistic way. The work of dominating the world calls for a union of skills and a unity of achievement that can only grow from quite a different attitude. The ecological conversion needed to bring about lasting change is also a community conversion. So the individual conversion is not sufficient according to Pope Francis. Community conversion, social conversion, that is necessary. It is a kind of a top-down. It starts from the individual, of course, but it moves on to the society, and again from society it comes from the top down to the bottom. But Ashoka admits that, you see, we can't achieve the success in caring for environment through legislation, through regulation, through authority, through threatening, through mitigation, through law enforcement, and these simple things. Appeal to the consciousness. Would you do that? Can you stop? How is it if you can use that method? Would you mind doing it? Persuasion on the moral level. Appeal to the bioethics, appeal to the values, appeal to the moral law, the power of consciousness. He calls it persuasion. And also in the major pillar, Edict 7, he writes that legislative framework doesn't yield much goodness or result. But persuasion framework, yeah, 100%. Even 200% too. Yeah, very successful. See, seventh pillar Edict, Ashoka writes, "Thus speaks the beloved of the gods, King Piyadasi," that is Ashoka. "The advancement of Dhamma among men has been achieved through two means, legislation and persuasion. But of these two, legislation has been less effective and persuasion more so. I have proclaimed through legislation, for instance, that certain species of animals are not to be killed, and other such ideas. But men have increased their adherence to Dhamma by being persuaded not to injure living beings and not to take life." Seventh major rock edict. Ashoka, through legislation, told certain animals should not be killed. But the people, they were persuaded so much that they came to conclusion on their own, not even one insect, any animal shouldn't be even hurt. Forget about killing. Ashoka told only few animals don't kill. But the people, by persuasion, all the animals and insects and plants, let us not hurt them at all. That is the power of it. So, the edicts of Ashoka reveal that Ashoka, as a man who sought to combine the piety of the monk with the wisdom of the king, and to make India the kingdom of righteousness as he conceived it, a theocracy governed by Dhamma, in which the government should act the part of providence and guide the people in the right way. Every man, he maintained, must work out his own salvation and eat the fruit of his deeds. There could be no progress without individual effort. The government could point out the road, but each man must travel it for himself. Reverence, compassion, truthfulness, and sympathy were the virtues which he inculcated. Irreverence, cruelty, falsehood, and intolerance were the vices he condemned. Ashoka the Great, almost 270 BC, these edicts were inscribed. So see the individual, the power of individual. Pope is also admitting he starts with the personal conversion and he calls it for a community conversion. And Ashoka calls it individual. He thinks that individual conversion ultimately is the social conversion. And he maintains, Ashoka, that government should support people through the persuasive method, not with the legislation and enforcement, but appeal to the consciousness. So I think our government should be really, they should have consciousness. That is what is absent today world. International politics, they don't have consciousness. They think only about science, technology. But we should combine. A president of a country, he should be an ethical person and also a religious person, a conscious person. A prime minister should be a conscious person who is ruled by dharma and dhamma. Every religious leader should be guided by his own consciousness. Consciousness doesn't lie. It testifies the truth. That is what Jesus says to the Pilate. I came to witness the truth. Yeah. Truth shall set you free. So I think Pope and Ashoka, their mindset is the same. I think read Ashoka at the same time. Read Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si, both of them are calling us for conversion. Pope calls it an ecological conversion. Ashoka calls it come back to Dharma, come back to the truth. So, my dear friends, you should be guided by truth. In other words, by your consciousness. I think that is the force to change and to preserve our natural world. Thank you and God bless.